In the pentagram rite, and in many moments that were far from still and quiet, I experienced them as that. And during the pentagram rite, there was a bright brown cloud to the north, and at times it obscured the wall in parts, and the tree that had crashed through the wall. During this first set of vibrations, I saw some sort of grate or fence before me. In the second set, the ground was bigger than this building was, and it was black and glassy and in the shape of an oval. In the third set, I could see that the fence was green, and it seemed to form letters or numbers, but I couldn't make it out, and I can't say what language it was in either. With the fourth set, it was like there was a mid-green color that made its way from the north into the room and filled the floor. And in the fifth, there was some sort of dark green goings on, but I couldn't distinguish the details other than it was more than one spot. And in the sixth, seventh, and eighth sets of vibrations, I felt comfortably numb. I felt like something directly beneath me, deep directly beneath me. Some sort of significance there. During the final reading, the trance built up. And I admit, because of the loud sound from hundreds of yards away, maybe, but it was still loud here, there was some frustration, but I, brought myself back, and the room became comfortably dark, darker than you're seeing in this video. And in the dimness within me moved, and I felt a gentle removal of the pain and stiffness. And in the final scrying, the shadows filled with a milky green, and this went through the room, and I really felt the tingles then, and it more completely gave me the ability to be smooth and all that analgesic feeling to it. One thing that becomes apparent with this text that I agree with is that you need to have a sense of why you're doing what you're doing. What sort of experiences are happening? What do they mean, And are the things they say to do to have these experiences worth it? And are the medicines that are being recommended, are they, are they poking fun at you and stuff like this? I know bacterial theory and stuff wasn't quite where it was, and maybe they thought the repulsion would provoke strong enough of a reaction. But like the people who sting themselves with bees and stuff like this to, you know, deal with some issues, it's like, well, there's issues with that. Even if you know you're not allergic, getting stung by some of these creatures, and just overwhelming yourself by the reaction that it produces may not be the best approach to you. Certainly some of these things that talk about, using feces and putting the water in your eyes, and it's like, are you kidding me? You got to know that that's going to produce some, well, even back in the day, how did they not know that was going to produce some sort of infection? And certainly some ideas, the planets that you could see without telescope, well, sometimes they're going to be moving different directions in the sky comparatively from our perception from Earth. They're going to rotate the same direction regardless. Retrograde doesn't really happen, in a physical sense. It's just a perception sense. And that teaches you as much as anything with this art. It's just not what you experience, it's what actually goes on, and trying to figure some of that out, right? Book 3, or 333, seems to resonate stronger with me, not just because of the number. And for that, the 4 stones and for the love of a woman rings through stronger in the reaction and ritually going over the text. With chapter 12 of that, book 3 or 333, I do agree that, one of the underlying points is to figure out nature and to work with nature, or turn the flow of nature in your favor. Just like with other sigils, we can look at their forms and we can think to ourselves about meanings attached to their particular forms. The Moon in Aries sigil that's mentioned in book 4, chapter 2, is interesting, particularly when you look at the 999 part. The 44 and 10-part lists of chapter 4, just like the previously mentioned cures and stuff, are more about sympathetic magic and faith than they are about actuality. But you can find that some of the herbs and substances and stuff do fit in those categories, and you can arrange attraction and repulsion based on compatibilities and stuff. That seems universally valid. Going back, we have the Moon in Leo sigil, and that sigil in Enochian would be in English letters OYNN, or Yo, but Enochian's right to left. Oin. So what would that mean if it was Enochian? But this is not an Enochian text. This is from before that in origin, isn't it? Chapter 1 of book 4 gets into characters and working with the different levels all at once.